sorry, I should have asked that earlier. Apparently people are concerned that we actually do the pledge of allegiance.
I've got an issue with the comprehensive planning committee.
Don't come for me.
Not you, I mean, you're golden, it's not you. A few of them on the committee.
Okay, thank you.
You're all set,
Turn on the mics now?
You know, you can show up and run your mouth off anytime, it's a public meeting.
Yeah, I already did that.
Oh, you did? I missed that
Not,
meeting.
no, not at that meeting, at the town board meeting.
Oh.
Alrighty.
Ellen, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, may I have the roll call?
All right, Mark Lodi,
Present.
Gary Guglielmetti.
Mike's on? Okay.
Sorry,
Good.
okay, Henry Williams,
Present.
Christian Lynch.
Present.
Alan Vella.
Present.
Okay, thank you. We didn't have any meeting last month. It was canceled because of weather issues, so we don't have any minutes to,
You have November minutes to approve.
no minutes. So, and we had the Wojcinski
You gotta
issue.
approve the November minutes.
Oh, we didn't,
November, because we didn't have a December meeting.
Did we have any amendments to the November minutes?
No.
No.
May I have a motion that we accept the November minutes as submitted?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
November minutes so passed as submitted. Thank you, folks. So the Wojcinski application, I guess, in Florida, so it's been postponed for a month. Although
Is that something we can all talk about after this?
I think so.
Good.
You're a quorum, it's an application before your board, you can discuss it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like some clarification. So the only thing on the agenda today is the
Woodland Playhouse.
Woodland Playhouse. And that is you?
That's me.
You're
I'm
Miss-
Christina Davis. I've met
Welcome.
some of you.
Yep.
So I'm Christina Davis. I'm here on behalf of Woodland Playhouse. We are currently in what you so generously called the shopping mall at this time. We have been there since 2017. And we purchased this plot of land, 5605 Route 28, 2020. It was in December, end of the year. So we purchased this with the intent to expand our programming. Right now, where we are in the plaza, we have our priorities in a lot of outdoor time and space. Catskills makes sense. We run a preschool program, and we also, so private pay childcare, and then we're also partners with onto our central school district. So we are one of the two programs that administer their UPK. Yes, and so we're currently doing that. We have a wait list. We don't have any more space. There's nowhere else for us to go there. So this is something that we've been wanting to do. So our intention is to create 2 preschool classrooms and a toddler classroom. I don't know if you guys have looked around recently, but there's not a lot of toddler care between,
Yeah.
you know, Oneonta and Kingston.
And this is new construction?
New construction.
Are you keeping the, where you are also?
No, the intention would be to move.
Everything?
Yeah, move the whole thing over. So we spent a lot of time, there's been a lot of changes since I first looked at this land and sort of had an original vision. And we found, you know, we had our survey done, everything like that, that we have this waterway through the center that's designated a stream. And then we have this second drainage ditch in the back that becomes a stream on the corner of the property. Those, being in a watershed, have pretty significantly limited our space that we can build. We've also worked really hard to stay under an acre of disturbance to avoid the whole SWIP designation because of all of the time and extra funds that go into that. There's not a lot of money in childcare.
Is this officially designated a wetland?
No, so there's non-official designation of a wetland, and this is also not a,
Map stream.
it's
It's not a
Seasonal?
designated stream.
designated, so like there's a culvert here, and that was one of the things we talked about was do we have to go through these special permits to be able to improve that in the future, and we cannot.
Okay.
So, and then, you know, in the back here, this fortunately is a ditch until you get over here. So,
Okay.
you know, the reason I'm here before you today is, we want to put in 3 classrooms. So we want to put in 3 play yards. Every classroom gets their own space. And all 3 of these play yards are less than 100 feet from the property line.
Okay.
This property line back here is state land. It's, you know, forever wild. It's part of what this whole state access is.
And let me interrupt right here. The reason they need a 100-foot variance is because instead of the usual 50-foot variance, is because there's an accessory unit on a playground or a camp. Accessory
Yeah,
unit.
50 feet for the building and 100 feet for recreational play area for children.
Access, yeah. So
Yeah, that was
consider-
something that did come up because there was some confusion initially if it was 50 or 100, and Grace did clarify that. I don't know.
She's very,
Because it's-
she's very efficient.
She
isn't
knows
she?
these things very like offhand immediately.
Yeah,
She has the whole book memorized, right?
she does.
What did I do?
You have the whole book memorized, right?
Oh, God.
Be a
So,
nightmare.
you know, I'm bringing this here, there's really not another space on this lot to be able to do this.
Yeah.
But is the variance you're asking for on the east side or the
No.
west side?
It's-
The west side,
No, it's on the south
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 side.
side.
south side.
south side.
Well,
Can you,
Well, not if this map is actually.
no, not if this map.
West
was.
side.
It would be the west side. Because this part of Route 28 is going north.
okay, so the variance is for the back side of the lot?
Yes,
Oh.
so you can
Which
see it's
is-
totally opposite from 28, all the way back.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so there's
that's-
really nothing
Yeah,
back
it's
there
here.
but
There's nothing.
state land and city of New York
Yes.
property.
There's nobody back
There's no
there.
buildings,
nothing
there's no,
happening.
and there's
Nothing.
nothing until you go over the mountain to Woodland Valley.
Correct. There's nothing there.
Okay.
And that's essentially, that's the nuts and bolts of why I'm here is we would love to be able to do this and continue to be an asset to the Shandaken community. And there's a lot of rules.
Is the property line this outline here? And
Yes.
what is this secondary line in here?
I'm gonna come look because I don't know which one you're supposed to.
This one right here.
That's our buildable use space.
Okay.
That's it. That's where we can build. Between the ditch setbacks and the stream setbacks.
Right.
Because those are the 50 and 100 foot.
Okay, so since this variance, the abutting land is basically wild land, or city of New York, it would seem to be a no-brainer variance. However, we do need to have a public hearing, we're bound by law. However, Grace, since this is public land and there's actually no, would we be sending out notices to the city of New York?
There are budding parcel holders, we typically send them out and get no response.
Okay, so,
And I've actually spoken with DEC
Yeah.
about the right of way. They don't have, at least that division of DEC that I spoke with had no issue with the project as it
okay,
was presented.
probably less
Yeah, we
noise.
Have you
talked
spoken to
them.
them as well?
Yeah, that's why they spoke with the town, is I reached out to them and said, we share this right of way, with the DEC, so that's from 28 all the way back. And so before I made any more movements with you or with the planning board, I reached out to them and said, these are our intentions, do you have any concerns? And they had a meeting and got back to me and said they had no problem with what we want to do.
Okay, so that's an existing road, but it's gravel, it's not, would you pave that, or keep it gravel?
No, so some of it's not even gravel, some of it's dirt. And what we'll be doing is, we'll be doing pavement at the entrance here, and then it will become gravel.
Okay,
And it's gonna be wide.
Yep, it's also being widened, 20
Okay.
feet is what our plan is right now.
so I have a question, it's nothing related to zoning issues, but, are you doing this because you're seeing an increase in business in your daycare?
So, there was a big increase, between 2020 and 2022, I would say.
Due to COVID issues?
Probably, there was, you know, I mean, you guys know a lot about the housing. There was a lot of people who moved up here for a couple of years and then came back to the city. There's a lot of people that are still here part-time and they've got 1 foot in each place. you know, I saw a lot of that. I will say that there's definitely been an increase in young children, in
That's
the
good.
area.
That's great
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, and there's one other program that like takes many children, that's like a licensed program, in Shandaken, and they're pretty full, and we're pretty full.
Yeah, I just
But
wanted
there's,
to-
Retiring soon. I think.
what?
I think she's gonna retire.
Yeah, she's,
Okay.
she might, which I think will impact this
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I just wonder if this is an indication that there are more younger families moving in with the intent to raise children in this community.
We have
Yeah,
had
can you
that.
say?
I've had a lot of people, right now I have, offhand, maybe 6 families this year, just for this year, that moved up in the last
Yeah.
12 to 18 months. And I say up, but some of them are not necessarily from the city, they're from wherever.
Mhm.
And they found the Catskills and they found Phoenicia and they love it. I have one of those families, I have their oldest right now, and they have a second, and they're expecting a third.
Wow.
So, you know, and their intention is to come back to Woodland for all 3 of these kiddos.
Great.
And stay in district and stuff like that, so.
Good.
And as for toddler care, I mean, pretty much everybody in Shandaken has to drive to Kingston. The one other program can take a handful of littles, but, you know, if you can only have a certain number of kiddos, you can only take so many. And so that's why we'd like to have 2 preschool classrooms and a toddler space.
Okay. How many people do you employ?
Right now, we have 8.
Good.
And then we also do summer camps, and so the summer camps run separately from our school year program. Our school year program is September to June. We also do before and after care for school-age children, so we have a lot of kiddos from the community that are still coming into our space. We offer some after-school programming, and then during the summer camps, we hire even more people than that because, you know, we have some college students that are back in the summers and they work a few weeks, and then we have, my full-time teachers are not interested in working all summer, none of us. We all want to just have a little break, and so it's a great split because we're able to work a few weeks and still see some of those same kids that come back year over year. Some of them are local. We have a huge mix of locals and visitors. I have a couple of families that they come back every summer for our camps.
Great.
So they find somewhere to stay, they're here, or they own a second house here and they're here for the summer and coming to our camps.
Great. Okay.
So then that employment expands then.
Okay.
And so, you know, we would obviously be hiring a couple more people as well for adding a classroom.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition to Shandaken.
I hope so.
And essential need, apparently. Any questions for Ms. Davis?
No, I studied it quite, you know, intensely over the last week or so, and I listened to the planning board meeting, so I'm pretty well versed in it, and I think it's time to make a motion to have a public hearing.
It's the 21st.
21st of February. Okay, I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
6:45?
Yes.
6:45 on February 21st, you said? Okay, so that means we notify every adjacent landowner, and they have an opportunity to come and either support or object, and then we are not obligated to rule upon their
Yeah.
input, but it's just another voice that we are obligated to listen to, and then we can make a ruling.
Is this,
Okay.
go ahead.
It's actually, it's adjacent and a budding parcel holder, so it's gonna be more than just the state. It'll be the state, Stonekill, Randy, I don't know who's on that side, and I don't know who's across 28, I think it's just county. It'll be a few, but it's not just gonna be state.
You mean that are
20.
opposed to it?
No, that are notified of
They're
the public
notified.
hearing. No, I don't know that anybody will be
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah.
it. I
Have you
don't see why-
spoken to your
Yeah,
neighbor?
why would we?
Have you spoken to the other neighbors?
There's really nobody to speak to.
No?
Well, I mean,
No,
I
Randy.
spoke
Right,
with
yeah, well,
Randy. I haven't spoken to, I'm not really sure even how to talk to Randy. He's just got this little piece here.
Yeah.
Did you try and purchase that from them?
I have not, but it's on my radar. The problem is that it'd be nice to have, just to have like the whole parcel there. But it's not really beneficial to me in terms of being able to build. we still would have the same, you know, setbacks from 28 and the stream that kind of sticks out towards his section
Yeah.
here. So I've never spoken to him, and I've never seen anyone there.
How do you even wind up owning that? Probably his father purchased it.
Must be, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
had something to do with when the trailer park was there, perhaps they were involved in that, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting if you walk back there in the spring, because there's really only one spot here where there's still any kind of sign of, well, there's a couple of like little like things, but in terms of a foundation, there's just this one concrete remains section here. But when you walk around, you'll see like a random spot of daffodils that were clearly planted there at some point, and like different things like that. Like, wow, people lived back here.
Well, there was a bunch of trailers back there at one
Yeah.
point.
When I
Sammy
first-
Umhay's father owned it all.
When I first purchased it, I was really hoping I would find a well. But it all was connected to that pump house that's on the other property now. So when it was subdivided, the pump house ended up on Stonekill Farms land, and we do not have a pump house or a well, so that'll be,
You're digging one well. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And a septic wouldn't have been useful to me anyway, because it would no longer
Wouldn't
be,
apply.
would not be helpful.
When was you planning to start construction?
You know, I planned to start over a year ago. But it's just been a lot of different delays, between planning board questions or architects' delays, or the temperature has frozen and now we can't dig test pits, and, you know, different things like that. It's been very, very slow.
You have a builder yet?
I did, but because we didn't build for over a year, I lost my own.
Lost your place, yeah.
I just have to say that architects are rarely the cause of delays. I just want
You're
to,
correct, they are.
On the record.
on the record to say that, yeah.
You know,
I
it's
concur.
because
He's an
we also changed things. So, you know, like I said, I came into this thinking I had all this buildable land, and I had this vision of having like different little schoolhouses across the land that could share these outdoor spaces. And my architect was like, this is not cost effective, first of all, to have all these different buildings. And then we found out what our buildable footprint was, and we said, okay, now we need to do this. And then we found out we couldn't put toddlers on the second floor, and so there was like, it's been a lot of things. It's been a long road, and I feel like I'm really good at what I do, teaching young children and
Yeah.
being the director of my program, but this is not my area of expertise.
No, it's a long, tough road
Yeah.
with a lot of money
Yeah.
before you even get a shovel in the ground.
And that's been my holdup right now, is that I cannot get any grants or any business financing until I have a building permit in hand. So
Okay.
everything that I have paid thus far to civil engineers, to architects, to excavators for digging things and permits and all of that stuff has just come out of our budget. You know, and we can only absorb so much.
So we have an approval from the planning board at this point?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Then we hear from the zoning board?
Well, in the spring, they sent me they didn't want to approve anything until I had my DOH, my DEPs. And so we got those, and then there was a conversation happening about the right-of-way, between Stonekill Farms and lawyer and my lawyer. And then there's also something, I have to get them some sign measurements for the signs on the building.
Oh, yes,
That's probably the least of your problems.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So are there access issues at this point, or?
to be
is that-
determined. It really depends on who you talk to, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
If you ask me, no.
I would say that this is just one more hurdle in the process that you have to deal with, and I think that once this is resolved, you know, your area variance, I think that the planning board and what I've seen so far should go along pretty easily for you now at this point.
I hope so. So you
I
said you
hope so,
watched the
too.
meeting, so that's encouraging. Thank
Yeah.
you.
He's on the case.
We've seen a few meetings, so.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty much accurate.
So I will see you guys again on
February
February 21st
21st.
at 6:45, not 7 o'clock.
Yeah, correct.
You'll stay at 7 though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
seems pretty straightforward.
It does.
Okay, before we close this meeting, you want to have some discussion about the.
I'd love to.
You-
Yeah,
Just the tidying up of that issue, you guys need to reschedule this public hearing for next month if that's what you want.
reschedule what?
This public hearing,
Yeah, for next
That was
month,
scheduled for
because
today.
it's canceled, so we've got to reschedule it.
so that'll be if you do that, it would be the 21st, I assume the 6th.
6:30.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we reschedule the Winsky project,
Public hearing.
the public hearing for next
February
month on what, the 21st?
February 21st,
At
6:45.
what, 6:30?
6:30.
6:30. I'll second that motion.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Okay, that'll be interesting. Yeah, you have something to say about that? I'm still conflicted about.
Yeah, I want to get some clarity, and now that we're all together here, I know I sent some emails around and some other paperwork that, which I think, can I stand in front of here and talk to you guys so we,
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
Is this going to count towards our training?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How many hours?
And get a vague
5
answer.
minutes?
I don't know.
It's been about a month then.
First of all, this primer I had here, which I thought was very helpful in explaining the use and area variance.
The differences.
Well, those particular items that you have, I research those all the time, and I have copies of every single one of those publications from the state, and every time we have an application in front of us, I go to those publications and I review them.
Good.
Each time before a meeting. And I think it's important that you now, I thought that everybody knew about these New York State publications. And there's not only New York State publications, there's other publications from law firms that deal in
Right, that's what this
just
is.
these zoning issues and things like that.
Right.
So it's
So this one is,
encouraging that you,
it's
really-
pretty, well, I want to know. I don't want
Yeah.
to talk out of my ass,
Yeah, yeah.
as it
Yeah.
were. So, you know,
Can you
it's
say that?
important. I don't know, I just did. So, you know, and I thought the county thing was also pretty important because they, and I know you beg to differ, but what they're saying, it appears that a use variance may be in order rather than an area variance as it relates to 11640A1, just that one item.
But
Would-
read the whole paragraph. It may, it says.
Yes, it may.
It didn't
That's
say
all,
it
okay, no,
does.
it didn't say it does. I'm not saying it
And it's
does.
kind of an on-the-fence issue.
Well, again,
And they even kind of relate to that in
well,
what their
read
answer
this.
to us is.
Read what that is, and the code is, of the multifamily dwelling shall occur only through conversion of a one or two family residence or other structure in existence at the time of adoption of this chapter. That sounds like use to me. In other
Well, they're not
words,
changing the use of the property. It's zoned residential, R1.5. So residential means
but that's another.
single-family
that's an-
houses.
That's another,
housing.
isn't that another part of this?
Well,
He's
I-
not proposing single-family housing. Let's be very clear about that. He's proposing multifamily.
Multifamily.
well, it's attached single-family homes,
Right.
But
they're-
considered multifamily
but they're
housing.
residential.
By any definition of any code
Yeah.
in the state of New York, it's
So
considered.
he has to clear this hurdle for 11640A number 1 before he can build anything,
Right?
because there's no pre-existing
Building there.
building.
Right,
Well,
and all I'm saying,
Right.
all my point was, they filed for an area variance. First of all, does it make a difference if they file for area or use? It should go
Yeah, no, it
towards,
does
If
make
there
a
is a
difference.
consensus amongst this board that a use variance is required, then you must require him to obtain one. So that's for you all to decide.
So there's some difference of opinion on our board.
Well,
apparently.
the way it was explained to me and the way I interpreted it from what was presented to the planning board and what the planning board had to say about this initially when project first erupted, was that he right now can build two-family homes on that property.
Right.
Because it seems to be a density issue.
He can build
So
one
if he can
two-family
build
home.
two-family homes on
One
that,
two-family home,
all right, which would be maybe 35 feet high, 2 stories.
no more than 35.
Yeah, yeah, I just said 35 feet. But it's either that, or he can build single-family homes, and I think 7 of them attached from what,
Yeah, you keep saying
What
that, I
they
don't
presented.
understand, why do you say it's a single-family home
because they are
attached?
single-family homes, it's not an apartment building.
Well, it is.
It's attached.
It's attached,
They're
I mean,
attached,
Technically-
single-family homes.
Technically, it's attached. single
but
family.
these aren't for sale individual,
No, they're for
No.
rental.
they're for rental. So
Yeah.
a group of rented apartments
Mm-hmm.
grouped together, sounds like a multifamily,
Okay.
It does.
I mean,
It does sound that,
Again, a question.
and I'm not sure that that's even relevant to what we're talking about,
Well,
first of
you're on
all.
the comprehensive planning board.
Yep.
I mean, you know, the committee, and the original comprehensive planning publication, this kind of goes along with what the comprehensive planning is, you know, promoting, housing. And we even have a housing committee in the town of Shandaken now that's also looking at.
Yeah, we do, and
how
that's,
we can
that's
build-
another, that's another
Well,
issue
it's
that
not another
I,
issue, it's still.
no, it is another
Well, it's
issue.
another issue outside of what the application is in front of
Right.
us. However, we are, in the town of Shandaken, kind of restricted from what we can do and build because 22 or 23% of the land is only owned by private individuals. All the rest is the
Right.
state.
Right.
And so we don't have the luxury of that other counties or towns have.
I get it. I'm not disputing that. All I'm saying is we're in the midst also, besides these interpretations of this, from what I see as a question, we're in the midst of doing a comprehensive plan and possibly changing zoning so that we can allow legally multifamily housing.
But we're
But
probably-
we're not there yet, and we're in the midst of it. Do we go ahead and allow something that may or may not be a year from now, legal in our code?
Well, it's not in our code now, but a lot of things
Right.
that come in front of us, the reason they come in front of us is because they're not in the code.
I understand that.
They're a violation of the code.
Right.
And they're denied by the building department, so
Right.
they appeal it to us.
That's right.
Well, I think your point is well taken, but I think we're a year away from
Right.
nailing down. Is it fair for the applicant to put this decision off for a year?
It's not, I don't know if it's fair for the applicant. I think, I want to do what's in the best interest of our town.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the applicant is secondary to the interest of the town.
Okay.
Well,
That's my
I think it should
feeling.
be looked at just as an application that comes in front of us. Look at it, and you evaluate the way you think it should be evaluated.
Well, so I'm doing, but I'm
and
trying to get clarity
apply-
because
apply
I'm
the
not,
code and-
I don't have the experience you do or anybody else here has. So I'm trying to get a little bit of clarity. After reading some of these things here, I had questions in my mind whether we're use or area. And I thought the county brought up a good point. They're not saying what it is, I understand.
No, they
They're saying
left it up to
the
us.
ZBA will need to interpret that,
Yes.
right? I get that.
They didn't say that it's not
Nope,
an area
no, they
variance,
said,
that it's a use
they said
variance.
they believe it is, they say it may be, right? That's exactly what they say. It appears that a use variance may be in order. That's all they said.
But I think it's up to interpretation.
Right, okay. So, I don't want to belabor the point, I just want to bring it up. If everybody thinks this is all fit within area, then, you know, I'm not sure where we go from there.
Not either.
What is the area variance like this, here? Which one is it? This one.
Well,
Number of dwelling units located on a lot shall not exceed the density otherwise applicable
Yes.
to a two-family dwellings within the accepted. So tell me what that means exactly.
That means, well, every acre and a half.
Every acre and a
The
half.
density, right? Am I right?
because
When
it's
you
R
take
one
density
point
into
five.
consideration regarding, I did this with Mr. Rodensky, regarding cluster
Dimensional?
development, it's the same idea. The biggest number of units he could come up with based on the density for the lot was 6. So
Based
6.
on, because
It
it's a
says-
4-acre
it's-
lot?
Based on the size of the
Size of the
acreage
lot.
of the lot and required densities in that acreage.
So in other words, every 1.5 acres, you're allowed to build X amount.
No.
Well, it's-
Every
it's-
1.5
it's a
acres
density
you
issue.
use to calculate
Yeah.
what the density overall for the size of the lot would be. Even if you're funneling that all into one area of the
And
lot.
this might very well be a dimensional issue.
well, I think it might be both an area and a use.
That's what
Not
my
just one or
point
the
was.
other.
That's what I thought.
But what about item number 4? No individual multifamily structure shall contain more than 4
Right,
residential units.
right, that's another one. I mean, right off the bat, there's a couple of things there that, you know, I mean, obviously, that's why he's coming to us, because none of these things are allowed.
Well, he's not coming to us, the planning
Planning
board sent
board.
him there.
Right.
The planning board is left without option, they must send him here.
They sent him there.
Okay.
Was there an actual application for variance at this point, or is this just a clarification from?
No, it's here.
There's an application
Okay.
for variance.
And it's
It's an area.
And it's an area variance.
I think it's 4 area variances,
Right. And again,
essentially in relief of every single
what did you,
section.
I mean, what did you think of the county saying that it may be a use variance for that one item?
It's not for me, that's for you guys to.
No, I understand, I just didn't, I know you have some experience in
But do
this.
we agree that, number one, the multifamily dwelling shall occur only through the conversion of 1 2-family residence that already exists?
Yes,
So they need to clear that hurdle whether we allow them to
Yeah,
build
well, this is new
anything.
construction.
Yeah,
and by its very nature is not allowed.
Excuse me?
That's the first, new construction of multifamily housing is not allowed in the town of Shandaken right now. Regardless of what the current comp plan says, or
Right.
what the comprehensive plan committee will end up in
Right.
that document, regardless of the housing committee
Right,
and their reports and things like that.
until
Because
the
that's
zoning is
all
changed.
Theoretical.
Right.
All that funnels into zoning eventually, but we're not
Right.
there yet. So
Right.
all you've
Right.
got is the code that you're sitting
new
in.
construction of multifamily dwelling is not allowed anywhere?
Absolutely,
Where do you get that from?
from the code. New
That's what it
construction,
says, right?
multifamily
That's
dwellings
it.
are only allowed.
That's
to
the
Talking about
code.
residential
This is the
lots.
code right here.
Okay,
Multifamily dwellings are only allowed through the reconstruction of an existing structure.
right, okay. Well, there are probably places where there is an existing structure. This isn't one of them.
No.
No, and
you
we've
know,
seen renovations along 28 here where Wadinsky's renovation of the building by the Emerson. That was an existing building, which he converted into apartments. I'm all for that. It was
Yeah,
there,
but-
he did it, there was nothing new about that.
I'm looking at
You used to live there, right?
Route 28 coming all the way up through Shandaken, all the way up to Bel Air. If you look at the whole route, the whole road system, it's a mix of commercial, home business, residential, all the way up. There's hotels, motels that are connected, some aren't. There's gas stations,
Junkyard?
junkyards.
Mattress stores.
Mattress store.
No, I know there
All the
is.
way up. So if this application, as far as I'm concerned, was in front of me as an individual, and it was in a residential area that had no commercial properties around it, I would be totally against it. But looking at the way Route 28 is and what the housing situation is.
Well,
in the town of
I don't
Shandaken,
necessarily agree with
I'm
that.
kind of like looking at this with an open mind.
No, I am too, but I don't necessarily agree with just because something's there that we have to allow something else.
Also,
No, I
it's a
understand.
scenic byway.
It's a scenic byway, and again, here's the other point that as far as visually, if you look at that property, where the right-of-way is, with the electric lines behind there, I mean, it is really.
Those aren't electric lines.
Whatever they are,
They're,
telephone cable,
all that.
whatever, it's a
Probably never
right-of-way.
took it down, any of them, when they were obsolete.
Well, he can't build there, he's not taking it
But they're
down, he's not
functional.
going
I've seen
beyond
they're
there.
functional.
Some
If he
are.
could, he
You
could push
push them
that
back,
back.
but you
But
can't.
But right
Some of
now,
them I like.
between the building and the parking in front of it, it's like in your face on Route 28.
That's my concern.
I'm not really thrilled about that.
I'm not either.
And also the parking is on.
And the parking's on the
28
street side.
It's on the street
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
I would like to put the parking on the other side. That would encroach upon the right of way of the overhead.
I mean, I'd love to be able to push that whole thing back. If
And
that,
also,
I
if
would
it's
have
a
a much
density
better,
issue, he owns the property next door.
right?
That doesn't factor into this.
No, I know, but what I'm trying to say is that if he needed more property, he could utilize the property next door.
He also has a structure next door, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
So-
on the other side.
On one side.
On one
He
side, but I
owns
mean,
both
that's the
sides.
structure that would allow him to,
No, it's a different lot.
if he joined the lots, though.
Well, he's,
I'm just saying, if he joined the lots, he could actually
I
then
mean, there's a lot
renovate
of
on that
factors
existing
that,
structure.
He just subdivided the lots.
He
This
did?
is what baffles
So he
my
created his
mind.
own problem there too,
This
right?
is what baffles my mind. What he wants to do theoretically, I haven't seen it done, so it's just theoretical, but theoretically, what he wants to do is covered under cluster development. There's code that allows for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly detailed code, it's very complicated, it's quite complex, and it does require the creation of a homeowners association, which I would imagine would play into
Much further
the
back.
decision of whether or not you wanted to
Oh,
create a cluster development inside of Shandaken.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clearer, in my opinion, there's a clearer path towards the construction of this building. This is the way that they've decided to go.
The clear path would, in the way I see it, if he owns that property next door, he joins the lots, he renovates against that existing structure, and he can do whatever he wants.
You can call.
And he's also further away from 28, which would satisfy you. So I think there's a lot of reasons, a lot of ways around it. He's
And
created
the
his
other,
own
and the other
hardship.
thing is, what I was reading in this is, who's the burden on? And who's the benefit?
Well, doesn't a property owner have a right to realize a profit out of his property?
Yes.
A zoning board of appeals must balance the benefit of the applicant by the grant of the variance weighed against the detriment to health, safety, welfare of the community by such grant. And that all
Well,
includes,
you could go through all of these, because I've read every single one of these publications. You could earmark different paragraphs in there to bolster your argument. Either way, in all of these publications.
It's interpretive.
Yeah.
all right, well, that's what I'm doing.
Well, I could do the same thing, and he could do the same thing.
Well, we
Mark,
should.
And then,
Well, then we should.
and
Maybe you
then what
could,
do it doesn't get us anywhere, other than we're just arguing an issue.
no, we're not
I think-
arguing, we're trying to understand the issue here.
No, it's
And-
important to air this
yeah.
stuff out.
It is, but I think what
I'm-
we ought to do is look at the application and treat it as any other application.
Of course,
This one shouldn't get any more, like.
I'm not. There's no any more extra
Any
scrutiny.
more out of us than we give any other person.
That's right.
We just look at it,
I agree with you.
evaluate it, and either you agree or disagree based on what you read,
I know.
what you think, and
I agree.
apply the code.
like I said, I was just trying to get some clarity
Yeah.
here. That's all. I'm not as
I get it.
experienced as you guys, so I want to ask the questions.
Well, I remember a year ago, you said, boy, this is a really easy job. I
Yeah,
said,
right?
Just hang out for a while, and you'll feel a little differently. But
But
yeah,
it-
no,
but
this
it
is
is-
valuable
no, this is-
stuff.
But it is true that he did, I mean, I think in that document, it also talks about creating your own hardship.
Right,
And-
exactly.
And if I listen to what Grace has said, that he split those lots. If he hadn't split those lots, he could have actually done what he wanted to,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Without even coming here, no?
I don't know.
Multifamily on an existing
The dream
structure?
here for the applicant is clearly a 7-unit multifamily structure.
Yeah.
So even if he had kept the lot as one big lot and just done it through the conversion
Yes,
of the existing house,
yes.
if he wanted to add 3 units to that with a total of 4, it could have been done with planning board approval. But to get to that 7, he would have ended up right here before you guys.
No, absolutely, but I guess my point is that if he came to us with that application,
That's a different thing entirely.
So you're saying it's a
I
self-imposed
think it's self-imposed, because if he came to us without splitting the lots, my guess is based on this conversation, we might be in agreement here. He's able to get the 7, he's further away from 28. We all agree that housing is necessary here.
Affordable housing is the most necessary.
Absolutely.
And that's the other thing, where there's no guarantee this is affordable housing at all, and we can't guarantee that.
It's what you consider
I know.
affordable, or if you want to go by what the state says.
Well, there
The
is,
state
and that's what the
says-
county
Well,
recommends.
The state says affordable housing is 30% of your income, including utilities. That's affordable housing. So, based on the state of New York, what they require.
Well, if it's gonna be market rental, I assume that would be 1,800 a month, possibly 2,000 a
I
month,
don't know.
probably 1,600 a month.
I have no idea, but I'm just looking at it as housing, really, from
Well, I think we gotta look a
from
little
my
bit more,
perspective,
I think we have to
and-
look a little more deeper than just housing.
Well, I'm looking at it as housing, as long as it doesn't change the character of the neighborhood.
And
There's a lot of
that's an
things you gotta
opinion,
look at.
that's an
I think it
opinion that
does
we,
change your
Well, it
character.
might not. I mean, right next door, going up the road, is those gray ones that are all together that's similar, right? Like 100 yards up the road.
Yeah.
So that's why I say when I look
Yeah.
at 28, if, I would have a whole different opinion of it, and I wouldn't even be saying what I'm saying to you if it was in a residential area that had no commercial applications. And that's the thing that I'm looking at.
that's
It's
one way of
my
looking at it.
issues.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Right.
I look at 28 and I see what's
I hear you.
there and
Yeah.
what's been there, and, you know, where we're going with it, and how much property is actually buildable in the town of Shandaken, and it's kind of scary,
Very little.
you know? And
Yep.
what are you gonna do, build big apartment houses to handle the amount of, all the young people are moving out of the town and out of the county to get some affordable
You know,
housing.
the other point, again, to this that raised in my mind, they're all, well, like, seems to be all one-bedroom apartments, which
Right.
is not conducive to family living.
Multi-generational. family.
Multi-generational,
Right.
kids, and, I mean, so, are you really helping young families, you know? Yes, maybe workforce housing, absolutely, but, you know, is it
Or
really?
maybe a young couple that just got married
Right.
that doesn't have a family yet,
Right.
that's living here and
Right.
can, save some money and buy a home or buy a,
But I know there's a lot of, and I've seen it in my neighborhood, there's, families that, and it's hard
well,
for
you have tiny
family.
little, those are little cabins, summer cabins that are
Right.
there on the water.
Well, we just heard from Ms. Davis, was it,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
there are more young families moving in?
Yeah,
Which I
absolutely.
think is
You got them in your neighborhood,
The families
right?
coming into Shandaken are not the families that need affordable housing, if we're going to be blunt.
That's for sure,
That's true.
But that's a problem,
Yes, it's a big problem.
yeah.
yeah.
There's
So,
it's a massive issue. It's gonna take-
But housing in general for the town is an issue. I mean,
Oh,
But
absolutely.
it's more of an issue for Shandaken than it is for any other community around us that's not in the watershed.
Absolutely, I agree.
You know?
And that's why we have a housing, I mean, I'm on the PH2 thing and,
How are you gonna be able to, generate affordable housing on that committee? I don't see how you can do that.
well, that's why I have this committee, so they can find out why, how.
Well, there's
And
not
whether-
enough land to have housing, that's the problem. Most of the land is already housed.
So what do we do?
Yeah.
Nothing?
very limited.
You're limited to what you can do. What do I'll sell you my property, you could build little condos up there.
So first of all, we
Condos
agreed
aren't
that
allowed in
we,
Shandaken.
Huh?
Can't have condos in Shandaken.
so we agreed that we should allow him to build something,
Yeah.
or no?
Well, you
You'd
guys
like to
haven't
put
even
it
heard
off.
from abutting parcel holders.
That's
I
not,
haven't even read
let me
it.
ask you
Can't
this,
read
okay, I hear what you're saying, but is that our job to tell him
No,
now
no.
what he can
Our job
or
is to
cannot?
look at this
We're
application.
to look at this and
And
whether we
if there's
agree with it
another
or
way
not.
that he could do it
He
within the
could come up
code,
with
it's up
that.
to us to relay that information to the parties in front of us. You know what I
Excuse me,
mean?
if there's another way,
If, we should look at the application, if we can't grant the application the way it is, we can at least tell him or explain to him how, within the code, he can
Get-
build what he wants or do what he
Or
wants
close
with his
to it.
property.
That's
Or
a
close
courtesy,
to
that's a
it.
courtesy.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
not-
we
Well, it
don't,
says
we
that
don't,
you
yeah,
should do
that's
that.
not
Oh,
our
it does say that?
It
job to
says
do
that,
that.
it says that.
Says it where?
It says that in
the
the,
county
the
recommendation,
things from
the county.
the publications from the state of New York that are guidelines for zoning board members.
Okay. I'm happy to do that.
No, I mean, we do it all the time. You know,
Yeah, serving as a mentor, to mentor the applicants, I think is a good idea. I mean, obviously a rich discussion, there's a lot of opinions here for sure, but I think
Well,
it's
that's
good
why
that we
there's
have
4
this.
of us.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's-
Actually, 5 and 6.
I'm not here, I'm just
Well, no, you're the,
answering emails.
you are the
I'm just
wealth of
ans-
information when it comes to the code book.
I know
I
nothing.
do know, though, that perhaps the conversation isn't quite as done as you want it to be. If there's a possibility that this board is going to ask Mr. Wodetsky to submit an application for a use variance as well as an area variance, is there a consensus in regards to that? Or do you want to discuss that next month?
We don't have to make a decision on
I
that.
don't know.
Well, you have a public hearing
but
regarding
what-
the area
You know,
variance.
this is
You
another,
kind of
this
do
is
have to make a
another
decision.
conversation that maybe nobody's gonna, I mean, one person might agree to this, the other's gonna agree to that, because the way I read what the county gave us is that the use variance is on the fence. It's either gonna be a use variance or an area variance, the way they wrote the,
So what's everybody's interpretation
so
here?
No,
my
it would still be
interpretation
both.
is,
think it's-
It could still be both,
It-
well,
absolutely.
it could be both, but.
No,
Because he's
I'm
not-
looking at-
Parameter.
I'm looking at that, it's not changing the use of the property. The property is still gonna be residential housing, so.
But anything over 3 units is no longer a residential use, that is a commercial use.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm
Multi-
sorry, but it
multifamily.
Is it in the code that after 3 buildings, it's commercial
4
use?
units is,
Honestly,
I
they're
mean,
just saying 4 units are allowed.
I'm looking at some of these, like we just did that one with the garage, how many units does he
technically,
have on there?
multifamily housing isn't even defined in the code.
I know.
That's how,
Primitive.
Antiquated it is.
not antiquated, it's this code is really vague about a lot of stuff. But for whatever reason, because I certainly wasn't here in 1976 when they wrote it, this code is vehemently opposed
They did not write it.
to,
They
because,
got
well,
this-
when they adopted it, I don't care who wrote it. I don't
Vehemently
care-
opposed to what?
To
To
multifamily.
multifamily housing, this goes vehemently opposed.
Well, they got it from Putnam or Westchester, one of those counties, and it's
That's fine.
verbatim, they just changed
Which is
Putnam and put
Funny,
Shandaken
because
on
there's
it.
more apartment buildings in Putnam than there are
Yeah.
gas
Well, this
stations.
50 years ago,
Yeah.
this whole dynamic has changed.
So does it,
If you believe that this is a multifamily project and not a series of single-family
Well, you gotta say, is it
projects, then it's a
commercial or
different
is
use.
it residential? I mean, is it
Different- it's a
residential
different use then.
housing or is it an apartment
I,
building?
that's what I think. I mean, I think it is a different use.
That's the way the applicant sees it, apparently.
The applicant doesn't see it that way, right?
Well,
As
he's,
multifamily
Let's get into
dwelling.
oh, he sees it as
Let's
multifamily
get
dwellings,
into
yeah.
We'll get,
We'll
one
get-
second.
We'll get there, sooner or later, we'll get to the bottom of
One
this.
moment,
Yeah,
116.
I don't know.
You look, you talk about use as opposed to area. Use is when you change the use of a property. Change the use. That's what a use variance is, the way I see it. You change the use that's not in the code. If it's a residentially earmarked property and you're building residential housing on it, I believe that the use is still the same. The use is
Well, the county's saying that the standard only allows multifamily dwellings
meaning the
through a
code.
process of conversion of one or two family
Yeah,
homes. That's the
that's what
use,
our code
that's
says.
the use that's allowed.
And there
Yes.
is no existing.
Whereas this proposal appears to be entirely new construction, which would be prohibited use.
Yes.
So,
Prohibited
use.
use that
To
doesn't,
Prohibit the use.
use, prohibited use, meaning prohibited use, not that it's a use variance. Prohibited use.
But that's
Well, in
the
order-
definition of
It's still
a,
residential housing as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not sure. I mean, I wish.
What do you think he's gonna move in there? Chickens and roosters
No,
and
no, no.
goats?
It's how you, how, you know, is that a change in use of the property?
I don't know. You tell me what residential means.
It's not only residential, it's multifamily.
Does residential mean a single house, that you can only have a single
That's
house?
still
I'm
residential.
looking at the word residential, R1, what does it mean, residential? What is,
Residential,
highway
we allow two,
business, what does that
we allow
mean?
up to two family, right, in residential.
Yes.
I don't know, last,
1.5.
I was under the
Right?
understanding
Yeah.
that the planning board said that he could put two-family houses on that lot.
That is incorrect.
That's what I was,
I'm sorry, but that's not
I
the
didn't
case.
get that.
so I was looking at it as, they're either gonna be two-family homes, 35 feet high, or 7 or 6 attached things,
He's asking for
you know,
7.
20 feet high. So I'm looking at the character of the neighborhood when it comes to that.
The code says 4 are allowed, if we allow him to build anything.
For allowed
As a conversion.
as a conversion, right?
So then in that case, it would be a variance in relief of
Yeah,
the number,
and the number of units.
well, no, if you only did 4, 4 is allowed.
So
It would
we
be a
can-
variance in relief
So
of.
make them do
The
6.
conversion, there's no
I think
there's no
we can
building
do
there.
Well, 4 is allowed, she said.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
4 is allowed through the conversion of an existing structure, so.
No
if it were
individual
4
multifamily structure shall contain more than 4 residential units.
If it were only 4 on the plan, then the board would have sent him here for variance or relief of 116-40A1, which is the conversion of a 1 or 2 family. The density would be fine, the water would be fine. 4 residential units is what's allowed. It would be, they would have sent him here for 1 variance.
Which
At
was
the end of the
in-
day, this is not what Mr. Weinensky wants to do. So I don't, we can discuss it, that's fine. It's just I don't believe it's what he wants to do.
No, he wants 7 units, 7 attached units.
Which even in the code, this is what I keep on going back to, even if he was applying for cluster development, he wouldn't be allowed to build 7 units.
Right.
And cluster development is a section of code that actually allows for that multifamily construction, whereby the rest of the code does not.
But when you talk about cluster housing, the houses aren't attached, they're
They can be
individual
attached,
houses.
they absolutely can be attached.
What?
They can be attached. You can, it's in
The
the.
way I read the code is they were individual homes. Cluster housing means individual houses. in
No,
my head.
cluster housing means you take the density that you would use for 6 separate lots, you create 1 lot that would have been those 6 lots, and you cluster all that density into 1 area.
Yeah, but individual homes, not
No, they can
attached
be connected.
units or an apartment house.
They can be connected.
All right, so I think this bears more discussion. I'd like to have some
To be
phone.
Well, we got 1
discussions.
month.
To be continued.
You don't-
I already spent a month on this. I'm still,
Yeah, me too.
yeah.
We said it all at the same time, me too.
The public hearing that you've got is for 3 area variances.
Right.
And that must be discussed, and that public hearing must be held before you have another chance to
What
have
are
this
the
conversation.
Can we talk about the 3 area variances? What are they?
One of the
Where
area,
are
the
they?
biggest area variance
Checked
is
off.
that,
These are the
the
3
one with the
areas.
2 homes,
But
you know.
was
that
this
you
in our
can,
packet?
Does anybody have
I
their
got this
book?
from
I can
Grace,
show you.
Grace.
Grace sent us
I didn't bring the
that,
books. I thought this was
Yeah,
pretty clear.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, so you want to read it?
It's those 3, right? You said,
Go ahead.
you said
Go ahead.
4?
Yeah, I have your email, Grace.
But you said 4, Grace?
No, there's
Three.
3.
Three.
The 3 checked.
2 of them I didn't think,
So-
two of them I didn't think were such an issue. I thought the biggest one was the ability to either build or not build them. That's the area variance, I think that's the most important.
I mean, the multifamily dwelling shall occur only through conversion of a 1 or 2 family residence or other structure in existence at the time of the adoption of this chapter. There's no structure there.
No.
The number, and the second one, the number of dwelling units located on a lot shall not exceed the density otherwise applicable to 2 family dwellings within the applicable
Right.
zoning
That's the
district.
density problem.
And the last one is, no individual multifamily structure shall contain more than 4 residential units.
So you need a variance on that, and that's 7 units.
Yeah.
So the very first one, 1A, is.
That's the biggest one.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we could kill the project right there if we deny that one.
Yeah.
I think we should allow him to build. He bought property. He wants to build on it. I'm concerned about density. I'm concerned about location, proximity to
And
the road.
parking, but that's something that the planning board deals with.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
Apparently
yeah,
not.
if he wants to build, he can build. I'm not necessarily agree what he will build, but I'm not saying
that's
he
that's
can't
the
build
issue. What
anything.
what are we allowing him to build? Yeah, I am concerned about community character because it's kind of an eyesore. You thought the architecture was,
Yeah.
what was the word you used, ugly?
Yeah, but also I think the parking is a bit of an issue. I think
Yeah.
there's no articulation of the project. There's 7 units and they're all the same.
Right.
A little bit prefab looking.
Well, we're not style cops.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, I
And
just,
you can put stipulations in an area variance. You could,
I mean, the question is, would he be willing to go down to 4? No, I don't think so, right?
I don't know, we would never know until
It's
we
it's
asked
a
him.
pure profit issue.
I know, then that's the thing. It's like, you want him to make money on the project,
Yeah.
of course. You also want housing.
Yes.
But does he need to make that much? And can we reduce it to satisfy all of our requirements and still have him benefit from the project? I think that's the question.
This person's an experienced developer who has other development projects around to make money.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, we can come up with a variance with that restriction.
Okay.
Hmm?
Did you say with restriction?
With the restriction, come up with. And whether he builds or not after that is, that's an issue he's gotta deal with.
When do we have to decide if this is a use or an area variance? Next meeting? Like,
Frankly, regardless of when the decision is made, if a decision is made that a use variance is,
It's gotta go back to the planning board.
no, but it does have to go through a new application process on top of the area variance process. So you'll have your public hearing regardless next month on the 3 area variances, because it's the only thing you're allowed to discuss during that public hearing. And then during the meeting, you would ask him to submit. No, see, here's the thing. If this board decided right now that a use variance was appropriate and must be applied for,
You should have.
I could tell him that now, and he would have enough time to get the paperwork together to present during the February meeting.
I don't think
If
we're
this
prepared
board
to do that.
decides during the February meeting that a use variance is required, you're not gonna be able to discuss that with the applicant until he gets the paperwork in March.
I'm looking at it, what's really the difference?
Well, that's what I want to know.
What,
That's a
when
good
you think of,
question.
what is really the difference?
It's a
Between,
steeper
A
hill
use
to climb.
variance
What
or
is?
an area
A
variance,
use
still gonna be
variance
in
is a
front of
much
us
steeper
asking
hill
us
to
to
climb than an
do
area
the same
variance.
thing.
I think what Hank
Well,
is,
that's a
Hank's
good
question
point.
is about what's the difference between residential and single family and multifamily? Is that what your question is?
No,
Not entirely? No?
I was just saying that regardless of what we decide whether use or area variance, he's still gonna be in front of us with the same issue.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but I
Without the
think,
appropriate paperwork.
I think that's the thing, that what we back up that decision with, and this
Here he
actually
goes
talks
again.
about that.
You know, you're getting to be too educated down there. I thought you were just the guy that seconded everything. Now you wanna train us.
Fooled you.
I don't want,
Fooled
I
me.
want you to train me.
Fooled me.
I don't like not talking, not knowing what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
no,
No, you know
perfect.
exactly what you're talking about.
So, Gray's brought something up, and I read it in here. I mean, how do you back up that decision? When it comes to, I mean, if he decides to mitigate this, with a lawyer, I mean, you have to have the
need a
proper,
lawyer to-
you have to have the
Absolutely.
proper backup to this.
I think we need to be
And-
totally transparent and completely
I think just
cognizant
let it
about
go,
our,
let it go as an area variance and either deny it or approve it with restrictions or without. That's what I think. I
I'm
mean,
kinda leaning
you're
toward-
just making somebody go back and do more paperwork, and they're gonna be back in
not a
front of
big
us with
deal.
the same thing.
It's not a big deal.
You know what I mean?
But
If it was
well,
gonna be
that's not-
different,
The difference is the legality in the future, possibly. That's the difference, right?
There is a
It's still gonna
precedence
come
issue.
to us, no matter what. We still have to rule on what he's showing us. It's how we,
no, I
back
get
that
it.
up.
I get that.
and that's all I'm concerned about. I'm not, I can rule, I know
You know which way
what
you're
it
gonna
is.
go.
I know
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. But are we doing the right thing as a board to, do it the
When the
proper
dust
way?
settles, it's still gonna be the code, whether it's use or area. And you're either gonna have to approve or deny what he's asking for, and he's gonna be asking for the same thing. You know, it's
Ultimately,
just.
same outcome,
Yeah,
same outcome.
that's,
Well, I'm gonna defer to you guys. If you guys think it's all fine to do with area, I don't know what you all feel.
I'm somewhat conflicted.
I am
I'm
too.
gonna look at this more,
I am too.
think about it more, and have some more discussion on the phone. So, getting back to your self-training issue.
New
we-
subject?
We are supposed to have
Sounds good.
4 hours of training, and that's in the course of a year.
yeah, and where do we stand? Are we even legally sitting here as a board? And were you actually,
You were
Um,
reconfirmed, right?
Yes,
Did you have
Did-
4 hours?
Were you sworn in? Were you ineligible to be a member because of the lack of 4-hour training?
Nope.
And
No,
that's
you
in
get-
that, it's in that publication.
No, you get the
Exactly.
training after you're sworn in, and then you have a year.
technically, the way the law is written, if a board member didn't complete the required training,
He's
then
ineligible to be
then the town board can choose
reappointed.
not to reappoint them. That being said, you got reappointed, Art got reappointed. Every board member that I've spoken to that has been here for more than 10 years says that we get 15 minutes for every meeting that we attend.
Mm-hmm.
The town board disagrees. That's not the case. That resolution cannot be found, cannot be located. They've searched high and low.
Was there,
It does not exist.
was there actually a resolution made? I don't remember that, and I've been here like 10 years.
I don't know.
I don't
It doesn't
remember.
I don't
matter.
know, it sounds good though, I like
So,
it.
it sounds great,
You-
but
you
it's
Well, how
not
about-
there.
You realize
how
the
about
training session was
my
tonight.
personal training? I probably put in 40 to 60 hours a year, even if we have 10
Right.
meetings, just researching.
It is for the board to decide what will and will not qualify as training.
Not our board.
They are putting, no, the town board, I'm
Town board.
sorry. I think they're putting something together for the February meeting
Yeah.
in regards to the training.
Are they gonna have any training
Hopefully-
to themselves?
They don't need to get
Oh,
Um,
they don't.
Yeah,
hopefully,
They make bigger decisions than we do.
yeah.
it is not vague. Hopefully, it's specific enough that there are clear paths towards these training opportunities. In a perfect
Yeah.
world, I would absolutely love to see the town board
You mean
reach
in-
out to AWSMP, Safari, the county, to see if they can put on training opportunities to be held here, where all
All
the
together.
board members
Well, there was
can come
one, there was one
in
scheduled
together.
for tonight for exactly
That's
zoning
through the
boards.
state,
It was a
yeah.
2-hour one, and
That
you
was
could do
through
it on
the
your
state.
computer at home.
Okay,
Yeah, I
that's a
didn't
Zoom
know
issue,
that.
and if you were doing that, then the state can certify
Yes.
for 2 hours.
So if you
They-
go
they-
to-
They have all of the other past training things on, but the
But-
state doesn't have the ability to certify. If
Exactly.
we just go on the web and YouTube.
If
So-
you go to the state's training page, there are 68 available classes. Of those 68 classes, only 7 offer either a quiz that you can show your board or a certificate that you can show your board, proving that you attended and counting towards training hours. Of those 7, probably 4 aren't applicable to what happens here. So go ahead and take them, but will the board accept them towards the hours? I
They
don't
would just
know.
have to accept
Our
our
board?
word that we watched them on
Town board.
YouTube.
The town board, so listen, in the interim period, based on what the state requires for training, the town has an out for us right now for this year, based on we weren't trained last year in the 4 hours
The town is
required.
not going to take advantage of that.
No, 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 why can't the town do a resolution that, in the best interest of the community, as it says in the publication, the training publication, in the best interest of the community to waive the training the last year, and that qualifies everybody for this year. So they don't have any issues legally in the future. I
See, when
mean,
they were, when
They can.
they made the resolutions to
No, they
reappoint
can't.
Alan and to reappoint Art, they weren't concerned at all about training. That didn't even come up as a part of the
This
conversation.
training hasn't come up in years.
Yeah.
well, it only
And-
came
and-
up because of that FOIL request.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at the FOIL request as, what is the basis of the request, and what are they looking to do with the planning board and zoning board, based on the lack of training?
Are you allowed to reveal the name of the person who filed the FOIL
You can
request?
ask Joyce if you'd like.
I know.
She's the FOIL officer.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
No.
matter. At the end of the day, regardless of who submitted a FOIL or if FOILs exist or not, the town board has decided that all of these zoning board and planning board members need to get their 4 hours a year. But what they've not given yet is a clear path towards
Yeah.
accomplishing that goal.
So
I
why-
can say that the Association of Towns, their annual meeting is at the end of February. There was a resolution, and I asked Peter for clarification about the resolution, that 3 members from each board can attend those meetings, and the cost will be covered, I believe, up to $1,000. So if you guys wanted to go to the Association of Towns, I can't remember where they hold that meeting.
In the city, I think.
It's in the city, but I can't remember where. So the cost of the motel and the classes and all that would be covered, I assume. But you get up to $1,000 for 3 members. So if 3 members of this board want to attend that, let me know and we can start the
When I first
voucher
joined this
process.
board, it was on, probably, I don't know, 12 years ago. Yeah, I took this seriously, and I think I took one training course, but because I'm a member of the Safari and the Shore Watershed Management Program, I was awarded credits for
Yeah.
doing the Safari thing. Also, what the state said was that in some of these rural communities where travel is an issue to join some of these seminars, that the town board can waive
They can
the
waive.
requirement,
Yes, they can.
because the requirements are onerous, because some of these municipalities are so remote.
Yeah, they-
So, and then COVID happened, and this whole thing fell apart. There was no
Well,
enforcement.
I want to just go on record saying I'm all for training because, again, I like to know what I'm talking about when I'm in something, and I take
Totally
this
agree.
You see
seriously.
that.
And you know, without
He's
any
good.
training, I feel
Mm-hmm.
a little insecure sometimes. I'm like, you know, on what I'm looking at here.
Well, there are other opportunities for training, but the issue is which we get credit
What will
for.
they actually take?
So-
in
Credit, whether we
training?
need that or not, is another story. I mean,
You
I
need
don't
the
know.
4 hours.
Yeah.
So when you are doing the training, and it's important, I agree that everybody, and I would love to go to that stuff with you guys, because it's just, I'm a nerd, it's fun for me, don't get me started. Anyway, but being very specific before you invest your time and your energy into a training session, and specifically making sure that the board will accept it. Because if it's not specified in whatever resolution they come up with in February, if you find a training opportunity in April that you think would behoove the board to attend and it's not a part of that list, the board can do a resolution to accept that training opportunity towards your hours. It's just, it's fiddly, it's paper.
Are they going to come up with
Fiddly
a
paper.
recommendation? Is that what they're supposed
I
to
hope
do?
so.
Or you don't? I mean, is that what the
That'd be fine.
intent is?
Yes, I believe, that, like I
Well,
said.
let's see what they
at the
come up
February
with.
meeting,
Yeah.
The board wants to come up with what they want to approve for our training,
Yes.
what they think is approvable for them.
Yes.
But yet they have no training at all.
That's a
Correct.
conversation you can have with them.
I
But
mean-
I'm just telling you.
What are their
It's not that,
qualifications
it's
to
not, to
make
be
a
fair,
judgment
to
on
be
how
fair,
we're
it's
gonna
not
be
that the
trained?
board wants to come up with, it's that
Maybe
the
they-
state of New
I
York
mean,
says
they
that
don't
the
have
town
to-
board
I
for
mean-
Shandaken absolutely must qualify what training means. It is the town board's responsibility to do so. So says it the state of New York,
Just
not the
wanna
town
follow
board
the-
of
Usually by the
Shandaken.
time.
Well, the state of New York
they're
says
elected
nothing about
officials.
whether they need to be trained or what kind of qualifications they have to even run for office.
Right, but the town board also isn't, gonna,
That's determined by an electoral vote for the,
That's
for the
right.
community.
Okay.
So, all right, so for example, these past training sessions are available on YouTube.
Yes.
If we were to organize, say, something here where we all watch the YouTube thing, which the state cannot certify.
No, they can't.
But if we,
Yes, if you approach the board and say,
Self-certify.
this is our plan.
watch board say, hey, we're all
vote this
sitting here
down."
watching this, can we get 2 hours?
Yeah.
Would
Absolutely.
that be something that'd be amenable to you guys, show up
The
and,
board, I would do it, but the board probably won't approve it.
They may.
Well, we don't know.
You don't know, they may, they very well may.
Well,
That's
they
the
didn't
kind
wanna-
of training they want to see.
They were
every
very
beginning.
reluctant to do a resolution.
I don't know that they're reluctant, I think they're putting their thoughts together in regards to it. I think it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger as the week went on, and they were like, okay, we gotta put a little time into this, which is appropriate, and.
I'll bring
and
the
I'm grateful
pizza.
for it.
you know?
I mean, like I said, in a perfect world, it'd be great to get like AWS&P, those guys here for training, because it's so specific to this area that I think it would be the most beneficial thing for all the board
We
members.
did, I did the floodplain training session, that was worth 2 credits.
Yeah.
But that's
That's basically
pre-COVID.
the planning board thing, the flood plan,
Yeah.
you know?
That was good,
It's
actually.
still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, but it's something that you wouldn't deal with here with.
No,
the
you
code.
wouldn't, but it's good to know
You
about.
could, I
but
mean,
it's-
eventually somebody's gonna come to me with an application to build a house in a floodway, and I'm gonna say no, and they're gonna say, but I really, really wanna, and they're gonna come to you guys. It's gonna happen.
And then we're gonna tell them about the stilts.
To apply for a FEMA variance, and then you're gonna have to go through the checklist of all the requirements of a FEMA variance, and when can we, and when can't we, and so it can be a bit blank.
There's a lot of issues.
So we're not, what about the use area thing? Are we gonna just table that to now, or what are we doing with that?
I don't think I'm ready to make a decision, are you?
Probably not.
So then the next time we meet,
Is gonna be the meeting.
The next time you're all sitting here together will be the public hearing for the 3 area variances. If following that public hearing, this board decides they want a use variance as well, you can make that decision during the meeting, and then he has the month to get the paperwork to you by March.
Okay, I think Hank's point of view simplifies things for us.
It
I think
does.
it's totally question of interpretation, can go either way.
right.
I'd like to have.
I just
some-
didn't know if, again, from what I read, there was some background stuff to make sure we're totally legal and
Right.
enforceable,
Yeah.
and somebody doesn't come back and say, well, you
Yeah.
didn't, you know.
I'm gonna review all that stuff, and there are other materials, like Hank said,
Yeah.
available through the state,
No.
there's voluminous
Your
materials.
input is really, very valuable this evening. I mean, really. I mean, if you didn't come up with that, nobody would have
Well, I
discussed it.
can't say that I came up with it myself.
No,
but,
no, I know. You mean you had help?
That's why it's a board,
Absolutely.
that's why there's 5 people on this board.
Mm.
We're not always gonna agree.
No, I mean what he came up with, Alan himself.
Yeah, yeah. No, we
Very,
need,
very productive conversation.
we need members that take this seriously, which we do.
Yeah.
And we want the public to know that.
Yes, we do. We're serious. All
Any
right.
other comments? I want to look at this a little more closely, reread this stuff, have some individual phone conversations. We're allowed to have individual
Yeah,
phone
yeah, yeah.
conversations, as long as it's not 3 people in a quorum, and give some kind of consensus, so at least we can start the next meeting from a more
Yeah, with more clarity
opinionated
about-
point of view.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Hey, this
more
was much
clarity.
better just talking to
This is
you
great,
know.
yeah, this is
I
great.
mean, we didn't talk before this, so this is good.
And kind of more clarity of how we're gonna attack this or
Right.
remedy it or approve it.
I think either way we rule, we're gonna,
Yeah, let's-
so we're gonna catch, BS from the community, because it's right
okay.
on the
It's
highway.
not a win-win situation for
Yeah,
us,
this
for sure.
No, so I
Yes,
want to
nothing of
have
this.
perfect clarity for the community and have perfect clarity of why we ruled the way we did.
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Well,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
You guys too?
Okay, good discussion.
Mike's off. Mike's off.
That'd be fun for you guys.
No,
Thank you, Olivia.
of course.
It's 9 degrees outside.
Nine?
It's 9 degrees.
It's about time, no?
Time for what?
Maybe come off one of the cameras.
Feels like -4.
Really?
That's what my phone says. Feels like -4.
It's a good feeling.
No, it's not.
It's a good feeling.
Terrible feeling. Yeah, right on the corner.